And I think we've got it. There we go. Great. Hello, everyone. Hello. Hope you're all well. Good to see you. Happy Thursdays to you. And it is Thursday, and I'm in the office doing another live stream. Tonight's a short one because, I'll be honest, last night was a long one. So I'm going to just take it a bit more easy tonight and just talk a couple of things, but nothing too outrageous tonight. So I better pour myself a dram. Let's talk. It's a lovely whiskey. Lovely bit of whiskey. So I want to talk a little bit about finding that calibration point with your palate. Now, this is really nerding out for a moment here, so bear with me. Earlier tonight, at about an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes ago, I had some dinner. Now, I normally eat dinner around 6:37 most nights myself. However, tonight's dinner, I had a I forgot my mic. I hope you could hear me in the last few moments. Tonight's dinner, however, had a fair bit of chili and garlic involved in it. So I had some chilied Brussels sprouts and some garlicky sort of chicken on the plate. Nothing too fancy, but it certainly had a lot of that chili and garlic flavor. And what I wanted to brush on really on tonight. Killer vinyl. Thanks, Cal. Behind me, I've got a bit of Dylan on the wall, as you can see, and a bit of Kitty, Daisy, and Lewis on the turntable tonight. So what I wanted to touch on briefly was the discussion around how to calibrate your palate and how to reset, and what foods to avoid if you're going to be drinking great whiskies that you you actually want to be able to taste. So that includes things like, so let's talk about what foods and flavors to avoid before going in for a whiskey tasting. Now, this is for your benefit, but I'll be honest, it's also for those around you. If you want to be somewhat respectful of those sitting at a whiskey table with you, some drinking buddies at home, or out at a nice whiskey tasting, then you want to. This is for the purpose of really actually showing some respect to those around you and not destroying their experience with the aromas either. So I want to also, just before I get into this, I want to just I'll say hello to lots of people here. Just Dramming, 45 Finn, Mount Boy, Barley Brands, Caltame, Matt Music, Muzzman, so much big thanks last night, mate. That was really awesome to be able to do a live with you last night. And Barley Brains, I've got to get you in here sometime. I've got to do a session with Barley Brains, and we're going to call it the... no, actually, I'm not going to announce it just yet. That's exciting. We should do a session with Barley Brains. It'll be really good. Calby Chan, Whiskey Saurus, Sally, Benoit, Monarch Perth, good to see you, Diane. Monster of Malt, and heavy on the garlic for extra impact. So, yeah, Cal, I'll get to that question. So, let's just talk about foods. What foods and flavors to avoid for your benefit and for those around you. So, the first thing I was going to say is the first one to avoid is chili. That should be a no-brainer at this point. Chili is quite, depending on the chili, of course, but most chilies are quite sort of pungent. The flavor that you'll be able to taste the chili for sometimes hours after you've tasted it, and you're going to lose all the nuance in a whiskey unless it's the most brutish whiskey that cuts through the chili, which there's not really many of those. And those whiskeys, in my opinion, aren't very desirable in the first place, unless the whiskey is so brutish that it cuts through, and you don't need to worry about that. In which case, avoid chili. That should be a no-brainer at this point. The other one to avoid is garlic, and this is the other one I did tonight. Too much garlic, a little bit of garlic's fine, but too much garlic, and you get garlic breath, of course, and you'll remove a lot of those top notes in the whiskey again on that one. The one I was also going to mention tonight is avoid things like blue cheese, and avoid things that are obviously very hot, because it's quite distinctive, and the blue cheese flavor carries through for sometimes 20, 40, 60 minutes after you've had it. And eating is cheating. Yes, thanks, Seamus. Yes. Also, hashtag drink responsibly in the same breath. But I was just going to say, if you've got this, just to avoid things like hot foods, if it's something like a hot pie or something that is just it's going to burn your tongue, you're going to hate it for about 10 minutes, and then your palate's going to be shot for about 3 days. So that's the other one to avoid. It's a quick one tonight talking about what foods to avoid. So therefore, everything else is pretty much on the table. There's no sort of like steadfast what you should eat before a whiskey tasting. Again, maybe avoid too much salt, but otherwise it's sort of, and too many peppers. But otherwise, everything else is pretty much goes, and that's okay. That's a good way to do it. Let me grab some of these questions, some of these comments. Barley Brains, you're in. We're doing a live together, and you already know what the live is going to be. It's going to involve some smoky whiskies and some other blasphemy. You know what we're going to do. Come on, let's not beat around the bush. We'll keep that as a secret for now, but it involves some heavily peated whiskies, and I'm going to get Seamus, aka Barley Brains, we're going to do a live together, and it's going to be stupid. It's going to be lots of fun. That's what whiskey is. It's meant to be fun, so why not? And experience it the next day. Sure, exactly. Avoid the baked beans for the benefits of those around you. Yes, you don't want to fart. You don't want to, flatulence at a whiskey tasting is never desirable. Neither is bad breath. Neither is your palate being ruined, and neither is not using deodorant. On that point, actually, whilst I talk about deodorant, just I want to mention that. At some of our more sort of premium events at the Society, we've often, in the invite, we've said, please avoid using cologne or any perfumes or colognes before coming to this event. Deodorant is essential, let's be honest. A nice neutral antiperspirant or whatever you use is probably a good idea. But the whole sort of, people, don't splash yourself with perfume or cologne before going to a whiskey tasting, please. Even if it's a really entry-level whiskey tasting, it doesn't matter. It's just like, it's not just for the premium men stuff. It's if I'm going like this, and all I can smell is the deodorant or the perfume next to me, that's really undesirable. That really frustrates the hell out of me, I'll be honest. Eating is cheating. Sorry, I said that. Blue cheese can be paired with whiskey though, right? Yes. Benoit, sorry, yes. Let me preface that by saying, avoid blue cheese at the beginning, before you drink whiskey. Only because it's like it will sort of overwhelm your palate, your senses. However, there are some whiskies that go really well with blue cheese, which is a lot of fun. And so when you get a chance to sort of get a blue cheese and pair it with something like, you know what? Blue cheese, like especially like a really sort of like stinky Stilton kind of blue cheese, pairs really well, in my opinion, with things like really ashy kind of peated whiskies. So when I say ashy, I mean things like almost like modern Bamor or any Kalila or some Bunnahavens. Not the sort of that iodine boggy note like you get out of some Ardbeg or Lafroig. But that can work with blue cheese as well. But generally that lighter, ashier style like an Ardmore or a Bunnahaven or something goes really well with blue cheese and cut really nicely together. Because sometimes the whiskey can overwhelm the cheese, sometimes the cheese can overwhelm the whiskey, but I find generally a lightly peated kind of whiskey works really well with blue. Evening Icon, yes. Thank you, Goucher. Your nasal cavity is affected while chili and garlic, and the nose would be interesting before and after consuming chili and or garlic. The nose, sorry, I'm assuming you mean the nose. Yeah, it's actually, it doesn't destroy it. It changes it a lot, though, and some would say that destroys it. But generally speaking, drinking after having sort of like some chili or garlic, really, it does affect your nasal cavity, especially things like garlic. It really sort of, garlic's right in the sinus, which is why, if you're unwell, it's good to eat garlic because it clears you out. But generally speaking, like it's the nasal cavity that gets most affected first, and it's 90% nose. Let's be honest. If you can't smell anything, you can't taste anything. We already know that. The nose and the mouth are all connected, of course. So if you can't nose anything, then you're not going to be able to taste anything. So it's not much fun there. I found plain oat cakes are good for neutralizing some strong food flavors. Well, see, here was the next point, Muzz, which I wanted to touch on, and there's a lot of comments still coming through here. So plain oat cakes are good for neutralizing strong food flavors. So here's the question. We've worked out what to avoid now. Let's move on to the next point. What is the best sort of foods to look at, to taste, and I'd love to hear what you taste, to neutralize and to sort of like reset. Now, in the wine trade, they often do the sort of the sniffing of the coffee beans. You don't see that much in whiskey trade, and that's fine. I'm sure it could work a bit, though. I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't. It's a reset. It's not so much just a wine-related thing, coffee beans. It's a reset of the palate. So I reckon sometimes nosing coffee beans, maybe even tasting a few coffee beans, but they can be quite bitter, obviously. Plain oat cakes. I personally find sometimes at the end of a meal, something like a sweet, like a caramel or something, or a bit of vanilla sweet or something, can really, obviously, that the sugar just neutralizes through the palate, which is a good one to use as well. But again, you don't want to go overboard on that because sometimes some really sweet stuff can really sort of counterbalance the whiskey, and suddenly everything tastes a bit out of balance almost to the other end. So I'd love to hear what you also use. Barley Brains will bring along something special for the occasion. I hope so, Barley Brains. I'm relying on you for this. No Tom Ford tobacco and no cologne. I didn't even know Tom Ford made tobacco. Ardbeg with blue cheese and a brownie. I often go out and sprout my natural musk. Man musk. Haggis. Yeah, haggis would be a great one, Diane. Like finding a bit of haggis to neutralize the palate. You know what? I love haggis. Susie in our office can't do it. She's not a haggis fan at all. So I sometimes get a giggle out of saying how much I'm enjoying a haggis. You know what? Haggis done really well is a godsend. And if you can find a butcher in Australia, if you can find a good butcher that does a remarkable haggis, then hold on to that, because it's hard to get really right. It's kind of a bit like, I put haggis in the same sort of category as miso. So miso soup, for instance. There's miso soups that you can get in Australia. You know, you can get them at Japanese restaurants. You can make your own miso. You can do the kettle misos. You can do the all those kind of things. But miso soup tastes different in Japan. It's to do with the water. It's to do with the use of water and how it's made and the ingredients and everything like that. But it's the water balance that changes it. And I find the same with haggis, except it's not so much water balance, or it could be if you're boiling the haggis rather than oven baking it. I prefer ovened haggis, but I don't really mind either way. I'll eat haggis. But it's sort of like haggis. It tastes different in Scotland. But if you can find a really good haggis supplier in Australia, hold on to it. I'll find the details, and I can probably post it up in the description for the YouTube link on this one. But there's a butcher we use at the Society a few times who's based like out in Hurstville, dare I say, or excuse me, Hurstville or somewhere like that. That's it's a real the remarkable butcher that does all sorts of things like black pudding and square sausage and haggis. It's a fantastic. So I'll try and find the details for them. Nosing a glass of water will reset the nosing a glass of water. Okay. I get it. There's sort of nosing a glass of water will do nothing. Sorry, but yeah, that's quite funny. Whiskey Sec joined. Good to see you. Blood sausage at Monarch. Yes, blood sausage. Oh, so good. Haggis well done is sublime. It's true. When you went to Scotland, did you eat a lot of haggis and blood sausage and black pudding? Surprisingly, Cal, no, I didn't. I tried to, but honestly, we're like in Leith. It's a very modern cuisine around Leith. Lots of sort of fancy restaurants, and haggis is a bit like tartan, and I mean that in a nice way. Haggis in Scotland is a bit like it's like, you know, it's like tourists coming to Australia and saying oh, okay, so can we eat kangaroo? Let's be honest, kangaroo meat is if well cooked is a lovely cut of meat, but is not widely consumed in Australia. Not even to probably 0.01% of the consumption of beef, chicken, fish, etc. But and pork. But so you don't see much kangaroo meat in Australia, but it's nice when you get to try it. It's kind of like a similar sort of thing I found in Scotland in many places. Yes, most pubs will have, you know, maybe a little bit less so. That example's probably a bit extreme, but most pubs in Scotland have most pubs will have a haggis something on the menu, and it might be like a haggis burger or haggis nachos or something like that, which is a bit of fun and sometimes really tasty. And actually most of the time it is. But when I was over in Scotland, I'll be honest, I ate a lot of fish. The fish I've just found, because I was in Leith, which is, you know, it's like basically an old fishing town. The fish around Scotland, eating fish in Scotland is fantastic. It's so fresh, and it's even just like finding a fish and chip shop, a hole in the wall fish and chip shop. Some are up in Speyside, somewhere near Aberlour. Actually, there's a fish and chip shop just down the road from Aberlour Distillery that is fantastic. So yeah, mostly fish was the main cuisine over there, and the occasional steak or occasional stew and occasional haggis, but it really just like mostly fish. Sort of a bit of a went off on a tangent as I often do. McHaggis. Yeah, look, you got to go to Mike Perth and try her haggis. I bet you do a mean haggis. McHaggis, yeah. I wouldn't put it past McDonald's to put that on the menu over in Scotland, just as a laugh. I mean, what do we get? Is anyone here old enough to remember the McOz? I mean, you remember the McOz burger? They made a burger for Australian market called McOz, and had like beetroot and pineapple or something on it. It was like, a really sort of Australianized version of a burger. And I think it hung around for a while in like the late 90s or early 90s or something, and I think it may have made a return at some point, I don't know. But yeah, I think that a McHaggis would be a cool idea at Macca's, that one. When you went to Ireland, did the fish change in flavour compared to a Speyside or Highland? Not really, no, probably just, but I enjoyed it more, I think, because you have that moment of, time and place. Whether the flavour was better, but the actual experience was. I stayed in this lovely cottage, and a few members have asked me when I saw my photos from back in May, where did I stay in Isla? I'm going to tell you right now, I stayed at a place called the Grace Cottage, Grace, the Grace Cottage. I know it's not the cheapest place to stay, but it's fantastic. If I can recommend it as a place to stay, it's a fully renovated modern cottage right out the back of Brookladdy. So like the backyard of the cottage backs onto the warehouses of Brookladdy Distillery, so it's a lovely location. Right, and then there's all the water and plains around you, and it's a stunning part of the world, that the cottage, and it's fully heated if you need it, or fully air conditioned, which we don't need too much of that in Scotland. But even in summer, it was quite. I was there in summer and it was quite cold still. Sort of like, well, cold by my standards, cold by Sydney Cider standards, but still cold. But anyway, it's sort of like it was. So if you're ever staying in Scotland, check out the Grace Cottage in Isla. That's not a plug. I get no kickback from that, but I just know that it was a lovely place to stay. Not that I get a kickback from, God, why did I say that? I don't get a kickback from anything I plug. I just plug what I like. 80, 90, yeah, somewhere in the 80s. My mum loved the McCalls. Cal, thank you for making me feel old yet again. But when you are on the ambassador or the yearly wage, ambassador of the year wage, who cares? Oh, mate, did I get a pay rise? That's news to me. Or her travelling. Yeah. Ambassador of the year wage. Gee, that'd be a cool wage, wouldn't it? I wonder what that would be. No, it's very humbling to be nominated to win that award. So again, I want to thank everyone who voted for me, and hasn't really changed anything for me. It's just my day-to-day continues. I still enjoy loving what I'm doing, and I'm loving doing these live streams and talking to you a bit about whiskey, and in this case, talking a bit about food and what to avoid and what to reset your palate with. Like I said, it's a short one tonight, so I'm going to wrap up in just a moment. But I want to just a couple of last little things, just as little final reminders for this evening. Outturn is coming Friday week, so not tomorrow, but next week. That's going to creep up on you, so put it in your diary, set a reminder. It's the 15th of November. It's our absolutely bumper edition. And just by the way, for those who got the Gathering Pack, now I want to talk about the Gathering Pack just for a moment. I meant to cover this last night with Muzz, but we got sidetracked, which was good. The Gathering Pack is this lovely pack of 5 whiskies, which is $120, and had 4 single casks plus the single cask, one extra single cask of the 33.137, which is the Gathering from Distillery 33. A Campfire Marshmallows cask, that one. All 4, except that the 33, we didn't get any bottles to sell. That was by the dram only at our events. All 4 of those casks are actually on page 15 in Outturn. Look at that. So there's very few of them available, very few indeed. But we've got a few there kicking around. It's like sort of, what is it? It's 12, 12, 12, and 6 bottles. Oh, almost spilt my dram. So very few, but if you want to grab if you really like one of those samples from the pack, it's in Outturn. And just my last little piece for tonight. This Gathering Pack, we're giving one away to every member of the Scotch Malt Whisky Society who refers a friend before the end of the year. That's pretty massive. All they need to do is put your name in the referral box. So you tell a friend about the society, you say, hey, let's share a whiskey pack together and join the world's biggest whiskey club. There you go. There's the box. They join, you win, you both win. Because they get to join the society, you get a tasting box out of it. And then you take that tasting box around to their place and share it with them. That would be ideal, wouldn't it? But obviously people often live far away. But if you're friends with them, they're probably close. You're probably close by. I'm just like the rest of you. Lockie, God, what have you done to me? Please flick the pages rapidly. Wait, let me quickly do. There we go. Look at those. Look at those. So there you go. Am I going a bit too fast for you all? Sorry, Robbie. That was very funny last night. So I'll continue that one. So those gathering packs and the packs are all on page 15, and the full bottles of each. If you really are keen on one of those, look at the proof on that 107, 67%. What a ripper. That's all from me tonight. Again, a big shout out to Muzz. Thank you so much for being a part of another amazing live stream last night. Last night was a lot of fun. If you missed the last night's live stream, it's on our YouTube channel, Scotch Malt Whisky Society Australia. The full hour is on there, unedited, in all its gruesome glory of Muzz and I talking about whiskey literature and sharing a few drams from the upcoming outturn. Let's have a look. Matt live show suggestion: whiskey cocktails with cocktail co. That's not such a bad idea, actually. That sounds like a really good one. I do feel like these live streams need a trumpet intro. I could probably pull that off. There's a flugelhorn up here. That might be close enough. 666, cool. Yeah, Mark of the Devil, got that. I don't know what that means, but good to see you. Hashtag Muzzbakes. Yeah, you know what? This is going to happen. This is definitely going to happen. I'm really looking forward to hashtag Muzzbakes from the Whiskey in the Kitchen book that we talked about last night. What a ridiculously fantastic book. That's all from me tonight. Like I said, a short one tonight because we had such a big one last night. And I might not see you tomorrow night. I've got an event I'm hosting in the city. But if I do, I do. If I don't, otherwise I'll still put something up for us to have a chat about. And we can I'll catch you over the weekend instead. Cheerio.